Hello everybody, welcome back. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. It is now 11:30 p.m. after a long day of work, and I'm just sitting here thinking about my tarot decks and oracle decks and the ones that I have acquired this year. Guys, this one, it's late, so I'm gonna ramble. But it's the Empathic Oracle. I have not featured this deck on my channel since my review of it, really. I left the booklet over there because that is not my thing, not my style. The thing with this pretty little precious oracle is that I hate the booklet, kind of hate the booklet. The overall message of it, you can see that in that video, is not my style. I feel it's lacking a bit. I feel also it's very strange to have a last card, because they are numbered, as stuck energy. Why would you not, if you have them in order or in categories or numbered, why would you not choose a positive last card? You know? And I feel like I have to work so hard to make this a positive message, which is sad because I want to like it. Now, obviously, I'm going to be honest with myself and think if one day I truly find that this is not a deck for me and I don't like it, it will go. But I think I only worked with this deck for 2 weeks tops. This was the last message I got, spring, which actually was really good at the time. So maybe this is a mood deck that is a super specific mood deck when I'm feeling a little bit down or maybe even pitiful. But when I feel like I need a good session of feeling sad or something, I don't know, it feels the deck lacks empowering messages that I do tend to bring to my readings anyway, so I do that in reading for myself as well. I don't know. I don't know. There's something wrong with this oracle deck, but I want to give it another go. This is before bed, right? Because it's late. I have an early day tomorrow, and this might be a series, tarot before bed, even though this is an oracle. But who cares, right? Divination before bed, something before bed, and I'm bringing you along with me, with my poor tired face. But I don't know. I want to give this deck a try. I just want to see what message it has for me right now. That's a long enough intro. Let's get into it. Okay. Let's just simply do some divination inception and ask the deck why I should keep it. Or a reason that I should keep it. Yeah, like what can I learn from this deck? Who else does this? I want to know. Because it's strange. It's, on one hand, the more I work with it, the more I appreciate its messages. But on the other hand, the more I work with it, the more I realize it's probably not really a deck for me. It's probably not going to be in my collection forever either. So why do I have it now? I mean, I like my decks for the long run, you know. So what am I doing with this thing? I know that getting this one, I had that idea that I just wanted to connect to a silly little oracle deck, as I said. And this one somehow had that approachable quality that reminded me of a deck I never owned, the Psychic Tarot, which is actually more of an oracle deck, right? With tarot correspondences, but not every card. This seemed like more my thing, but I'm just very confused. I just don't really know what to do with it. So let's see what the deck says itself. Doesn't even smell of anything. Predator? I remember that's one of those fights. I remember the booklet being very not my style, and in my opinion, unhelpful. So that makes me a little bit angry, actually. It fits this card, you know. So I remember interpreting this as more of a devil archetype and a positive one. What can I learn from this deck? To just keep being on the hunt for different approaches to things. I'm so forcing this, aren't I? So I thought about it a little bit, and I think I just basically need to think of another card that I do understand in order to make sense of this. So I'm thinking of the devil archetype, basically, the devil card in the tarot. So that means this deck can teach me where my faults are, where my weaknesses are. I think it does that really well because it kind of lacks the whole advice part, in my opinion, like the helpful advice and, going out and doing things. This is more of a recognizing yourself deck, which maybe having this card, pulling this card for this question, what can I learn from this deck? Maybe I can actually respect that and appreciate that. Appreciate this deck for what it can do and not just focus on the flaws. On the other hand, I also feel like I don't want to focus on my flaws only, I don't need a deck to kick me when I'm down. When I feel kind of blue and all of that and a little bit weak already, I could say, I'm not going to reach for the Toth, for instance, which, in my opinion, does have a much more bittersweet look on life than, for instance, Triunfo della Luna. But apparently, this deck, the challenge it holds, I think, if I want to take the challenge, of course, is confronting me with the things that I would prefer to just ignore, or the things that have power over me, hold power over me, basically. And then to actually work hard, as I'm doing now, to interpret this bloody card, work hard to fix it myself, to not necessarily get that advice that I usually get from my tarot practice from this deck. Reading this, saying this out loud, it doesn't feel like it's gonna work. I know I'm being very negative right now about this little deck, and in my first review, I did see a lot of the positive as well. I think I really want to give it a try. But again, just getting this card, it frustrates me. And I don't like to have that thing in the back of my mind, knowing what the guidebook said, the little book, about this card saying, beware of people who try to take your energy. It's not how I read. I don't think it's very helpful. Am I trying to make this deck about everything and for everyone? Or is it really just very niche? I think niche is a French word. So niche it is, okay? No niche on this channel, just niche. I got sidetracked there. And maybe this deck actually is just for empaths and them trying to make sense of their experiences. Look, the answer to that is obviously the latter. Obviously, this deck is made for empaths. It's called the freaking Empathic Oracle, just the Empathic Oracle. And the whole booklet is about that. It's just so sad. I'm just so sad about that because look at how pretty this is. And actually, not just pretty. I do get some things from the images. I mean, I don't like all of them, but is that a flaw too? That there might just be too many cards that I don't like? Although so far, I like all of these. Even this one's very simple. It's an oracle. I could take out the cards I don't like. I don't like this one. But they're numbered. Okay, let's see. How about just a message from me right now? I left out the Predator card. That probably works better, right? A message for me. Let's see. Oh, that's the air card, isn't it? Yeah. Look, now this is easy for me as a tarot reader to interpret because I can just see it as the ace or 10 of swords. The ace, of course, being the seed of the element itself, the very beginning, and actually the entirety of the element. I don't have the word right now because it's late, but it encompasses the whole element. And here we have a type of storm. So it is very disturbing things. It's bringing up a lot of different opinions and directions, and it does show where I am now mentally, because that's what we're talking about with the element of air, that it is actually a little bit confusing what's going on right now in my life, not just in this reading. But I think the conflict might be necessary in order to get a clear view on my particular situation. Conflict is necessary, and also options are necessary. You know, I'm trying to interpret this in a different way than I would a regular Ace of Swords, or Ten of Swords, as I say, because of the differences that I see in this card. You know what I mean? So I see those trees are bent, I see the storm, I see the conflict, I see the leaves that are scattering around, I see all of that wind, it's blowing in different directions, and so I see more conflict, I see more storm, I see more options, and really kind of embracing that unknown and the fact that at this moment I'm not certain of where anything's gonna go. Perhaps it's even easier to be more fluid, to be able to bend in the wind rather than being very rigid and very strong and stable, sure, except that strong enough gush of wind and you fall over as a tree. It's better to be more flexible. That is very difficult in my situation, because if I'm presented with a choice, I think that's when it really is going to be difficult for me. I would rather have, almost would rather have at this point, the choice made for me by the universe. And this card is telling me, you know, if I could read it as a prediction thing, that there is going to be choices to be made, choices coming my way. And I'm going to have to be very clear in that moment what I want, what I need, and not be afraid. But it is going to require some adjustment on my part, a lot of adjustment, and actually not just on my part. This thing that I have in mind, I realize I'm not sharing anything with you, but I can't. It involves a lot of people. Is it just me being tired, or is it just the fact that this card can pretty much go anywhere in the depiction? Past. Maybe it's just me. Because this card can say, well, you should just rely on your own experiences and your own the knowledge that you have acquired regarding reading tarot, interpreting symbols, and you're not doing that right now because you're mad at the deck or mad at the first card you got, which I could just as easily take out. I know it, I know this, but you know what I'm like at this point, right? I mean, I'm very difficult and very picky with my decks, and this was one of those that I would just give a try. I'm not exactly impressed, is what I'm saying. I'm much more impressed with the Secret Pocket Oracle. I still prefer my Morgan's Tarot. It's crazy and really cool. The Secret Dakini Oracle. It's madness. I love it. The Living Altar Oracle, which is one of the reasons actually I got this deck, because Living Altar Oracle has element cards, time cards, etc. But it's huge and it's difficult to shuffle, difficult to handle. And the day Kiki and Ilvamara come out with a small version of that deck, I'm going to be one of the first ones to buy it because the deck is really good, okay? I even made peace with the guidebook and the way they explain things or the language that's used in it. Yeah, the type of things that I didn't immediately connect with. I really like it now. It really says something about this deck that was meant as the one that's easy to handle, and it's also cute and I can work with it, and it's supposed to, you know, be the equivalent almost or the replacement of the Living Altar Oracle that has cardstock and card size that I cannot shuffle. Beginning of that sentence, I always do this. It says something that this one was meant for that, to replace that one, and yet now, a couple months after making that review, I realize I actually work with the Living Altar Oracle more than this one. Did that make any sense? But this is the thing that I shouldn't do, that I think we shouldn't do. You know, don't get a second deck to make the first deck that you had workable. It's either or, one or the other. I think I need to choose, and I think I know which one I'm going to choose. I think you know which one I'm going to choose. Yeah. I'm not impressed with this reading. I know it's also my fault. I'm not feeling it. Flipping through the deck, it might have been fun for a hot minute, but this is just, I feel like it breaks my heart because it's so beautiful. The fact is, I see how I could work with this, but I don't reach for it. One. Two, there are too many things about it that I don't like. Card meanings, reason why it exists. I should have known. I should have known. But you know, can't blame a girl for trying. And even though, you know, Living Altar Oracle also has its flaws, I get something more out of it that I thought I could get from this. Maybe in a little bit more soft way here. But I don't think I necessarily need that. To give you an example, for instance, I bonded with my Wildwood tarot, right? The older version with the horrible cardstock, with the big fat copyright on the backs, shiny cards. I know that there's this new version out there with little less shiny cards and no copyright. I looked at it and thought, maybe I should get it because I've been complaining about those things on the Wildwood Tarot for years now. Except that I realized almost the same between Living Altar Oracle and this deck, for me at least. I think you kind of know where I'm getting at. I realized I don't need another version or a new version, even if I would get rid of my old one, of that specific deck. Even though there are many things about that old one that I don't like, that is the deck that I bonded with. And for real, you know, it wasn't like my very first tarot deck that I know many readers never think of culling. That's the one deck they always keep. Well, my first tarot deck that I consciously bought as a tarot deck was the yellow box Dutch Rider-Waite-Smith, which I thought was horrible. So I gladly sold that for a couple of euros back in the day when I got my Centennial, which is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I truly bonded with. So to me, that's okay. It's almost as if the Centennial is my first one, you know? But the Wildwood, my energy was already in it. I had edged the cards. Those are mine. I don't think this deck will ever feel as mine. I get why I gave it a chance. I still like it. It's still very pretty. I still appreciate the artwork. I still appreciate at least some of the meanings and what I could get out of the cards, because for instance, crowd surfing got an entirely different meaning with me. It's just, look, this would be great as magical advice. But then we get this, and I'm like, I mean, I get it, but I don't know, it's too simple. And this, look at this, is so beautiful. So I get why people like it. I get why it was made. I get why I like it. But I also think I may just have made a decision and just let go of this deck. Just free it into the world. See who likes it, see who wants it, see who actually likes to work with this card. I feel like this deck and I just half clicked, which is the worst types of dates, aren't they? It's not enough to put you off from a second date and just say, have a nice life, I won't call you. And then there's the other option of, I can't wait to go on a second date with you. I imagine. I never really dated in that sense. I don't think it truly exists in Holland. When it's this much in between, you get a choice and it's difficult, just like that card and that interpretation that I gave it, that reading that I just did for myself, not really getting anywhere. Is this a not really getting anywhere deck? It can be great. I imagine this deck to be great and helpful, healing for so many people. I was going for healing for myself as well and for my clients. And I did a few helpful readings with this deck. I got a lot of good feedback. But for me, I can get more out of my tarot decks. Either, you know, I'm tarot brained anyway, and some oracles I like, but this one is just too specific and still it feels unfinished, you know? Like I said, that last card being stuck being the last card, and categories, but not every card is in a category. So many cards I don't like, and the booklet has this weird, to me, point of view. I don't think I feel all that different about this deck from when I did that video about it. I remember in the end of the video, I was thinking, do I even like this deck? I think I asked you, do I even like this deck? Yes and no. Which is why it's terrible. It sucks. But you know what? If I don't pick it up and I try to do a reading with it, okay, fine, it's late and I'm not really feeling it, but I don't feel I got anywhere, then I think it's just time to give up, right? I really gave it a try. Still some cards I think are great, but I think they would be greater in a deck that to me feels more complete, thought out, less niche. Although it's its strength as well, I know that, but you know, just an oracle deck. An oracle deck that's actually helpful, that you can actually work with, that you actually get advice from. That's not this. I don't feel I get advice from it. Maybe a type of recognition, which is probably what some people are looking for, which is fine. But I think when I'm feeling, as I said, a little bit down or blue or empty. I have my Tarot of the Magical Forest. I keep that deck for difficult times. And I have my Tarot of the Moon Garden. Wildwood is very much a hug type deck for me. Also, that's another point. Last point, I swear. Then I'm going to go to bed and shut up for the rest of the week. I had this thought. This is the odd deck in my collection, meaning it doesn't fit in with the other decks that I have, which might be strange because this is one of my more normal decks, you know? But it doesn't fit in. I have weird decks. All of my oracle decks, just looking at my oracle decks, they are hella busy or weird or creepy or dark or very magical or very fantastic, very maximalistic, and very psychedelic. And this one isn't. That doesn't make it a bad date. That just makes it too normal. It's gonna go. Not saying that people who like this deck are basic. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying, I swear. I thought I would get what I need in a specific mood from this deck, and I don't think that I am or will. I did a handful of good readings with this deck for other people. That's not reason enough for me to keep it. You know, I'm picky with my decks. You know, I don't like a large collection, at this point at least. This one's gonna go, and if I feel like using Oracle for my clients, the Secret Pocket Oracle has been working great. Anyway, you know what I was looking for when I got this deck was these types of cards. This is an advice card or an affirmation, fine. But it isn't saying beware of this, don't do that. It's not emphasizing my flaws or where I'm stuck or what I cannot do. Here it's saying go through life, or at least your day, with an open heart. Very simple, but then you get something nice out of this image. Either that, or it's saying you go through life with an open heart. How great. But you know, it's simple, beautiful, sweet. Not every card is like that. Even if it was, this might be one of those decks that actually shows, what is that, your ideal self or something? Thinking that I can be this way, that I actually pull a card and it says open heart, and I get a lot out of it. A lot of meaning and value, and maybe one day, but apparently my brain, my heart, just my overall being doesn't work like that right now. Doesn't work that way. And so I'm gonna end it here. I really want to know if this crazy late night ramble helped you at all in any way. This is, of course, the thought of should I cull or keep a deck, and finding meaning and having a relationship with your decks, actually using them. I think there's also more to it, you know. I think I maybe had to accept something about myself, that even though I want to like this deck and I want to find some weird part of myself, I don't know if that makes sense, but that it's just not there enough. I don't think I actually need this energy. That's the thing. I think I need much more of the energy that, I don't know, just a simple Rider-Waite-Smith tarot can give me. I think I need that more than seeing cards like these, however pretty they are. Or okay, let's compare it with an oracle. I think I can learn more about myself and the world by using the Morgan's Tarot. It's an oracle deck over this one. Two very different oracles, but I don't think this deck guides me enough to where I need to go. Not saying it's not good. I'm just saying, well, yeah, I critiqued it, fine. I'm allowed to, but yeah, it might just not be for me. Very long story short, I am aware of that. Anyway, how about if you've made it this far, you comment with dragonfly? I think this is a dragonfly, right? In the summer card. Look, this is a beautiful card. Beautiful. You know what it reminds me of? The Terror of a Moon Garden. I have a whole deck with this card. Okay, so if you've made it this far, you have nothing to say, just comment dragonfly, and I'll know that you actually watched the entirety of the video. I will comment on that because it makes me happy. And if you want to get creative and do have something to say, then try to incorporate the word dragonfly into your comment. Don't click away yet because you might want to know more on my opinions and views on tarot and oracle, so I will link a video in the screen that I think you will like as well if you like this one. And if this is your first time here, then maybe consider subscribing, join the club. I'm gonna go to bed. I think my eyes are closing by themselves now, and I'm so sorry about this video. Bye.